All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Happy Monday, February 12th. Welcome to the Franchise Empire newsletter, the video edition. Today, we are going to cover a franchise that shows that it makes $17 million in their FDD, their franchise disclosure document, which is just absurd. $17 million is what the highest performing location shows. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about a specific resale franchise. We're going to talk about a franchise of the week, a client case study, as well as the latest episode of the Franchise Empire show. So I'm excited to dive in. We stream this now to so many different platforms. We got Facebook, we got LinkedIn, we got YouTube. So I'd love if you're watching this, just comment and say hello. And let us know if you're watching live or if you're watching the replay. Seems like we get the most hits on the replay. I'm going to go through my intro and segue here at the top of the newsletter. Then we're going to bring Kevin in from behind stage, and we're going to dive into these franchises. So let me share my screen. And we're going to rock and roll. All right. So we got the window, share, boom. You guys can see it. So this went out yesterday, Sunday morning. We send these out to your inbox 8 a.m. on Sunday morning. So if you are watching this and you want to get it in your inbox, then you can go to franchiseempire.com/newsletter. And Rahman, if you want to make that go at the bottom of the screen or something like that, I think we have the thing. But go to franchiseempire.com/newsletter, and you can go opt in completely free and make sure you get it a day before, and you can kind of read it peacefully. All right, so let's dive in. So here's the message that was on my heart that I really wanted to share with you guys, which was the more and more that I get deeper into the franchise game, and the more and more I talk to franchisees, and I feel like I have this unique vantage point that I feel I have an obligation to share with you guys. In that, with the podcast, I'm talking to successful franchisees, franchisors, founders, CEOs, multiple times a week. And so the question that I always want to know and get their perspective on from every one of them I talk to is like, what's the difference between the people that win, that succeed at business, that have a successful franchise, and what's the difference between the people that fail? I'm always curious to hear the nuances. And so that's what I wanted to talk about at the beginning of the newsletter today, which is how can you have two franchise owners within the same exact franchise that get totally different results, right? And so this past week, I got to have coffee with one of our clients who came through our zero to profitable franchise system, bought a struggling resale, just got a steal on the resale, got it for a great price. Kevin helped him find it and acquire it. We'll talk about it in a minute. But the territories that he bought, they had been previously owned twice. And sometimes what you can see is that if a franchise is turning over, that same territory keeps turning over, meaning multiple people are kind of buying it and reselling it within a short period of time, like a few year, 3 to 5 year window. Sometimes it could mean that maybe there's a challenge within that like market or territory. But for him, like what happened was his sales were up 100% year over year compared to the previous owner. So in January, the previous owner did $30,000 in sales, right? $30,000 in sales. A year later, new owner does $65,000 in sales, up over 100%. And so in talking with him and sitting down, having coffee with him for an hour, hanging out in the office, chit-chatting, it was clear as day to me. The difference was him. It was him, the way that he thought, the way that he acted, how decisive he was, how much of a student of the game that he was. And the difference was him. He's got hustle like crazy. He started other businesses before, kind of had some side hustles. And so, assuming that you pick the right franchise, which is a big assumption because there's 4,000 franchises and there's a lot of terrible ones, which is why you have to be careful. because franchising is a wonderful opportunity. At the overall industry business model has been proven, but if you buy the wrong franchise, you're screwed. I just want to let you know that. If you buy the wrong franchise, you are screwed. And so, assuming you buy the right franchise, the biggest factor to whether you succeed or not is just you. Again, how do you show up? How responsive are you? Like, literally, what's interesting about him, every time I text him or email him, he responds back to me in like 5 minutes. I'm like, is this guy living in front of his computer and phone? He's so responsive. And I've noticed a correlation between some of the people that I've seen that have the hardest time once they start operating their business. I send them an email and they respond like literally like a week later. And imagine if that's a customer. Imagine if that's a sales opportunity. Imagine if that's someone you're trying to hire. What happens if you respond a week later? The opportunity's passed you by, right? How decisive are you? How quickly do you execute? What's your commitment to mastering sales and marketing in your business? And then how quickly do you give up when experiencing adversity? So, yes, you can buy a franchise. That franchise can be proven. You can talk to 20 franchisees that do well in that franchise and you can still fail. Why? Because you have to up level you as an individual, right? So the biggest determinant of your success in your business is you. It's an important thing to it's kind of scary to acknowledge that at first, but yeah. All right, let's bring Kevin in. What's up, man?
Hey, thanks for scaring the crap out of everybody to start the.
You
I,
know, people need to know there's consequences to not doing it right, I feel like.
yeah, yeah, I totally agree. I think a part of it is also I agree with everything you're saying. I think part of it is the people are afraid to like make mistakes or fail, which is normal. Everybody has that fear, but like some people have a very intense fear of failure and like just getting started, and they feel like they need to be so prepared and like have everything, all the stars aligned before they even get started, like doing the things in the business. And then what they realize is like they wasted 6 months like getting prepared, and when they start doing they learn and they still fail, and they could have just like started doing early on, like a manual, and just start doing, just start getting those at bats, experiencing what it's like to work with customers. And yeah, you might lose some and you might like look like an idiot a couple times, but that's part of it. You have to just like do it and learn from it. So I feel like that's a big part of people are just a little bit nervous on making those early mistakes, which you shouldn't be.
Yeah, man, it's a great point, right? It's really they're often fighting these procrastination, right? They're fighting self-doubt and fear, and that can manifest as not being decisive, not taking action. And it's something that, when I look at like the most successful entrepreneurs around me, they tend to all be pretty decisive or pretty responsive, or and they're like you're saying, they're willing to fail forward. It was so obvious just talking to Emmanuel for an hour, just like he is such an action taker. It's crazy. It's just like blown away. I mean, I was inspired after talking to him. I was like, man, he made me feel like, wow, how can I get better? Like he made me want to feel like I gotta level up.
Yeah.
Just all the things he's doing. I'm like, that is so cool, man.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that. And even working with him through the process, I could tell he was going to be like that. You could just tell he was very responsive, always on it. When I brought him that opportunity, he was like, "Yes, let's hop on it right away." I want to set up a meeting right away.
ideal people, right? So
Yeah,
if you are that person out there watching right now, if you are that person where you're like, I am decisive, I'm a winner, I'm competitive, and I'm crushing it in whatever I'm doing right now, and I'm ready for the next thing, we are your people. We are your tribe. I just want to let you know that. Like, this is how Kevin and I operate. This is why Kevin and I get along so well, because we just operate off that same mentality. And so if that's you out there, Come to the family. All right, let's talk franchises, man. What do we got first?
Yeah, so I think we chatted about this last newsletter in one of the testimonials for Josh, and Josh had bought this housemaster. But housemaster is a home inspection business. It's been around since 1971, which is kind of crazy. It's a long time, but they're the most established home inspection franchise in the country. They are a neighborly brand as well. So we've talked about neighborly companies a few times, but a big umbrella brand that has several home services franchises underneath it. But Housemaster is a really good business. That isn't, like, I would say, super scalable compared to some of the other neighborly brands or home services, but a really good profitable business if you want something that has like a lower employee count. So this particular resale is in Greenville, South Carolina. That is like southwest of the Charlotte area, I believe. And so it's a pretty growing area from what I understand, but this one's been around since 2017. The owner has been doing like inspections part-time, but he has a team of inspectors that, they're going to manage their own schedule. They're going to go and do the inspections themselves for the homeowners or the home buyers, present those reports to the buyers, and then, finalize whatever is needed for that particular customer. So they had 2022 gross sales of around 320,000, and 2023 numbers are still pending. Asking price of 265 for this. So when you look at that, you think like gross sales of 320-ish is not super high. Something to keep in mind for this is like there is no overhead for this business. You don't, you operate it from your home. There's no brick and mortar. There's really no even like vehicles or anything included. I think you have to buy like a laptop for your inspectors to do the home inspections, but it's really pretty low overhead and costs. So most of your costs for this particular resale are going to be the salaries for the inspectors. So, in my opinion, for this business, especially this resale, you would ideally be a person that wants to come in and really like be pretty hands-on, learn and go through the certification process with Housemaster. So they'll put you through training and certification to become a home inspector. And then that way, how to do, the inspections, and you can manage those inspectors on your team, but also like step in and start doing inspections and learn how you can grow the business. From what I understand, most owners will do a decent amount of inspections themselves, and then maybe have a couple inspectors, maybe build to a team of around 5 over time. But beyond that, from what I understand, it's not, that type of business. So that's why I said, like, the right person that really feels comfortable doing this type of work can be a nice profitable business for you if you're interested in this. So yeah, and then when I looked at the item 19 in the franchise disclosure document, I did notice that the average unit volume, so the gross sales, increased quite a bit if a franchisee had 2 locations or more, or 2 territories or more. So that would be something you'd want to inquire about for this particular resale: is how many territories it includes. Is there room to expand beyond what's available now? Those would be questions I would have.
Nice. Yeah, it's interesting because sometimes on YouTube, you'll hear people say like, "Well, franchising is just like buying a job," and I actually think in some instances that's not negative. Actually, if you think about it, like I think generally when people say it, they say it with a negative perception. I don't want to buy myself a job, but think about this: like if you want to leave your job, how much do you get to sell it back to your employer?
Yeah, yeah,
You get nothing, right? But even if you have a franchise where you're running it as like a solopreneur and you bought yourself a job, guess what? Like when you're done, you can sell the business. And so I say that because I think that a business like this is a solid opportunity. Like there are folks out there, like actually Josh, who did buy this franchise, I remember him saying, like, he was like, I don't want to build a team. He was like, I just want to do the work. And
exactly.
his mentality was like, dude, if I can just like make more money than I'm making in my job now and be able to control my time and like own my own business, I'm happy. Like he was fine with doing the work. He was super handy, had that experience, and so I that to me that's one of the cool things, about franchising is like if you want to build something huge and you want to own 5, 6, 7 territories and build this giant thing and have layers of management and you can do that, but if you want, you could also just be the person that does the work and just, wake up knowing that you don't have to answer to anyone. And you can when you're done working, you can go home, take your kids to soccer, whatever it is, and then, if you want later on, you can gradually hire people. So I think this sounds like this specific resale has that opportunity for, like you said, an owner operator to come in and probably have a pretty solid income right away. And if you want to scale, great. If you don't, like that's cool too.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I do hear that a lot. I don't want to buy a job, but I mean, there's really like if you still own this business, I mean, what job like you could still take off like a month out of the year whenever you want and, just not schedule inspections that month or give them to an inspector on your team. I mean, you would have so much more flexibility and still be able to make really good money. Like I've heard some of these like people that own these housemaster home inspection companies, they'll do like one or two inspections a day, and then maybe they'll take Fridays off every day. So like their schedule is like Monday through Thursday, and so it's like super flexible, not a lot of the pressure, and they make good money. So I think it can fit into that category pretty nicely if that's what you're looking for. Because not everybody, you're right, not everybody wants to grow a huge team and scale to multiple locations and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was so interesting when like, way back when you helped Josh, make that acquisition. And he was like, "Yeah, I'm just planning on running it myself. I don't really want to build a team. I just want to do the work." And I was like, "Huh." Like it kind of blew a circuit a little bit because that's just not the way that I think overall. But I thought, well, that actually makes a ton of sense.
Yeah,
And I could see how like it's like whatever makes you happy,
that's why I mean, not to go down the rabbit hole, but that's why we take them through the process we take them through and ask a bunch of questions and really like press on people. Is like, is that truly what you want? Like, be
Mm.
open and honest with us, like because it's okay if that's not how you're wired and that's not what would make you happy. Like everybody's wired differently, but just be honest because like if that's your goal, then we could certainly look at franchises that fit that type of model versus something where you're hiring a bunch of employees. So it's not a one size fits all approach at all.
Yeah. One of the benefits of getting to work with Kevin and Carista and the team. So if you want to find out about this specific resale, you can go to franchiseempire.com/resales, or you can check on any resale. So you can enter your info, and Kevin and the team will see what, if any, resales are available in your specific area, or even some of you might be willing to relocate. Maybe like for the right opportunity, you'd be willing to move somewhere else. So you can go to franchiseempire.com/resales and schedule a call with Kevin and or the team. All right, quick client case study. So, so Rodney's situation was interesting. Rodney was an OG when I first started this business. Here's what happened. He came joining the zero to profitable franchise system, having already identified 6 different franchises, all in the fire and water restoration space. And he was like, "I am completely confused. I'm suffering with an analysis paralysis. I don't know like how to compare these, like which one should be the right one." And he was really nervous about choosing the right franchise. And um, he did wind up pulling the trigger. I helped him with that process, narrowing it down, and he's done really well. I know that just a few months in, he had a huge month, like just a few months in his business. He's been on the news a bunch of times, which is pretty cool. And so, I wanted to highlight this because Rodney was like the epitome of that person that shows up powerfully, like that does the work, that does the homework, that like pays attention to the detail. That's like he's just that guy. And I always know there's some people that like I'm sure Kevin, there's some folks like immediately when you talk to them, you're like, they're going to crush it as an entrepreneur. Like you just know the way that they show up, right? Like what are your like signs that you look for when you see that the person has X, you're like, I think they're going to do really good.
Yeah. I mean, it's really a lot of little things. When the intro you talked about, like being people responding to you quickly via email or when you reached out. I mean, that's a little thing, but like I do find where people are very responsive, it just shows that they're going to be responsive to customers and quickly, and they're going to be decisive. So I think that's one trait. I also feel like people that are coachable, but also know what they want, if that makes sense.
Mm,
Like they have a drive, they know what their end goal is, they know even maybe what types of businesses they're interested in, but they're still like open to listening and are coachable and helping them finalize their decision.
yeah, I totally agree. All right, franchise of the week. What do we got here?
This is one of my favorite franchises you probably never heard of. Like, if people, Google franchises, you're not going to find this one. It's kind of a hidden gem, but it's called System 4 Facilities Management. So, System 4 is a franchise that does commercial cleaning and property management services. So, think of like landlords that have multiple facilities or businesses that have multiple facilities, a lot of like franchise systems that have different locations and markets. You're servicing, those are your end customers. And basically what you do is you establish commercial cleaning contracts with them, and you subcontract the actual work to cleaning companies in your area, and you manage them and make sure of quality control. And then you can also add on property management service where you handle anything else they need. So, if they need a plumber, you can hire a plumber and mark up your services. So there's two management fees that are reoccurring revenue, basically, which is a beautiful thing. One for the cleaning and one for the property management. And then you can also upsell them like, hey, I noticed like you need to have your parking lot repaved. I can manage that project for you. You're kind of serving as the general contractor and marking up your services. So I like it because it does have that reoccurring revenue element to it. And there are a few different franchises like this in the industry. I like System 4 quite a bit for a number of reasons. One, I've placed my good buddy into this franchise. I went to Discovery Day with him. I walked through the process with him pretty intimately. I met their team and the owner. Very impressed with them. Very like my kind of people, like down to earth, very straightforward. Not going to make any promises. Is going to tell it like it is. Two, they have really good systems. So they have a proprietary software system that they built in house that is managing every customer from start to finish. And I'm sorry, I'm bouncing around here.
Yeah, no, it's all right. I'm trying to track with you.
My bad. I'm all over the place, but so they have really good systems in place, and then they have like really good marketing. When you enter into a market, they allocate a certain budget. They spend some money marketing, and you would spend some money, so they're actually help contribute to that, and it actually gets a good amount of leads for you. Like my buddy got busy really quickly.
Wow.
Yeah, and so. And then the last thing is they do have a lot of national accounts with franchise systems, like Anytime Fitness, I think is one, and others where like if there's those locations in your market that you enter, they can get you a foot in the door to get those services if they're in need of like, or if you can try to convince them to change suppliers. So really, really strong business. It's not for everybody. You need to be comfortable doing B2B sales. You need to go and meet with like C-level people, owners of businesses or facilities, real estate, and a lot of it is networking as well. So like getting referrals from different, real estate agents or other business owners. So that is a big part of it. But man, if you're comfortable doing B2B sales, it can be a phenomenal business.
Nice.
A couple other things. Yeah. It's pretty Monday through Friday. You don't even need an office. If you don't want, you can work from your home. So your overhead's really low. A lot of times if they do have national accounts in place, there is an opportunity to get some of that existing revenue. And so that's always a positive as well.
Nice.
Sorry, I think there's an alarm going off in my office here. I don't know if you heard that or not.
I heard something.
Yeah,
I was like, he doesn't look like he's panicking,
yeah,
so must be okay.
or not, it went off, so I think we're good.
All of a sudden, someone shows up behind you with like a mask, and you're just like, Kevin disappears.
Well,
Oh, that's funny. Well, we skip the interesting part. We could go back to it, but it's crazy that the FDD shows the highest annual revenue at 17 mil. That's absurd.
yeah, yeah. So I don't know what location that is, but I do know it is a franchise owner. It's not like a corporate owned location. So I'd be really curious to know where that where that location is.
That is fast. That is really, really fascinating.
But if you look like on that last table three, this is like basically it's showing median gross sales for locations that have been open 3 years or plus. So your, median annual revenue is 1.5, average 2.2.
Yeah, which is seems pretty solid overall. Cool. Yeah, see, these are like, to me, these are the fascinating things, that like the stories that we get excited to tell, like people thinking about food franchises. And I mean, this thing is only, I mean, total investment is 150 to 377 grand. Like that's not a lot relative to when you look at the investment to sales ratio overall. And okay, granted, these locations are open 3 years or longer. I always tell people it takes 3 years for your business to hit maturity. Anyways, your goal after year one is to be profitable, and then 3 years is like that sweet spot where it's like, boom, like if you think about your business like a baby, like 3 years old, that's when things start to get fun with kids, right? It's like they can walk and communicate with you, and doesn't mean that you can't enjoy prior to. Crap, I was going to say something, but I totally forgot. Where was I going with that before?
I don't know, but I'll add in usually it's going to be closer to that 150 mark. It's on the higher end if you actually buy into existing revenue or accounts that they have. So they kind
Got
of
it.
negotiate that, which, again, you have that reoccurring revenue and profit every month that you could potentially buy into if they have that. And they have huge territories. That's the reason they don't have a ton of franchise units. So I'm working with a guy in Austin, Texas, that they would potentially give him the entire Austin metro area as his territory, which is pretty sweet.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's cool. I think there are not a lot of franchise systems out there like that. A lot of them just want to maximize territory size and kind of, that's cool. That's cool. There's some gems out there, y'all. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. There was a guy that we're running Facebook ads right now, and there was a guy that commented saying franchises or they cost $3 million to get open. You need like a $500,000 down or something like that. And I was like, that is like completely false. Maybe one that you looked at, and the guy just kept like arguing. I'm convinced there are just troll pages that they're literally not, they're just people saying stupid things on purpose, like laughing, thinking like, I'm just gonna mess with this guy.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I linked to the video of the 5 low cost franchises that make $1 million, where we literally pull up the numbers from the FTD and go over the numbers. He was like, I don't care about your video. Like I said, $3 million, $500,000 down. And I'm like, well, where did you get that from? Like, show me your data. He's like, he goes, someone told me that's what it was. Someone I knew told me. And I'm like, are you serious? Someone you knew? He's like, show me your data. I'm like, the data's in the video, dude. Watch the video.
Yeah.
He's like,
I could pull up like 10 item 7s right now from an FTD and show you. Otherwise, it'd be easy. That's weird. Yeah.
The dialogue was, I'm convinced it was just a pure troll page. Just like, I'm going to screw with this guy. So if someone wants to find out more about System 4 or any other franchises, how do they go about doing that?
Yeah, so you can click on that button and you can schedule a time to chat with me or somebody on our team, and we can explain a little bit about our process. But we'd want to understand a little bit more about your criteria before we would do any checks for you.
Boom, 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 boom. All right, last but not least, the Franchise Empire show. So the episode that just went live, you can make money from party buses and wine tours. So I got to interview the CEO of a franchise called Driver Seat, an emerging brand, really in the U.S. They started out in Canada, but just a really interesting episode. This is one that really went beyond business. We really kind of went deep here, talked about having spousal support. We just talked about the overall business, how much it costs, etc. And just like what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur. Luke had some kind of contrarian viewpoints in that he doesn't believe that franchisees are entrepreneurs. I thought that was a very interesting perspective. So if you want to know why and kind of what he had to say about that, then you can go check it out. You can go to just look up the Franchise Empire Show YouTube channel because we don't post those the podcast on the main YouTube channel. So yeah, that's it. All right, Kevin. Any parting words?
I got to run to another meeting, but this was fun.
Yes, sir. All right, everyone. Take care. Have a good week. Bye.